Thrifting enables me to just start collections over items that I never would have thought I would be able to. For example, I've gotten into collecting cast iron recently, and cast iron is one of my favorite materials to cook with because it just has so much like clout in the cooking community. I feel like if you're cooking with cast iron, people know you're serious, and I'm not like the best cook out there. I'm not even like a good cook if I'm being honest, but I still like to pull out all of my thrifted cast irons and show them off, being like I'm actually a really good cook, but in reality I'm not. I also really enjoy collecting different kinds of dolls and stuff, and every single thrift store I have ever been to has a bunch of different dolls, so I like to grab as many as I can if they're a good price, of course, and then I take them home and I put them in my collection. I've started so many different collections that I literally never would have thought I would have because I am able to go thrifting. One of my favorite things to collect are marbles, and every time I go to a thrift store, I make a beeline straight to the marble collection just to see if they have any cool looking marbles or anything that's like standing out in my eye. And then they're always like 5 cents per marble, if that, so it's really fun and interesting. This was a massive day of thrifting for me. I went to like a bunch of different thrift stores. So my mom and I actually went to this town that's like 40 minutes from where my mom lives, and they have this entire street that's kind of dedicated to thrift stores and antique stores. Now, antique stores are definitely on the higher end. Thrift stores are definitely where my like bread and butter comes from. That's not to say that I don't enjoy antique stores. I know that they definitely have their time and place, and I think that antique stores are pretty cool. I like that owners of the antique stores like to go through and find and like curate the like selection for, you know, whatever kind of vibe their antique store is going towards. But I definitely prefer the chaotic, neutral nature of like an actual thrift store. I do have to say though, antique stores are some of my favorite nostalgic moments as an adult because they remind me so much of visiting natural history museums as a kid. And did anybody else's school always make them go on like a yearly trip to wherever the closest natural history museum was for your school? For me, I grew up in Florida, so the Natural History Museum was like a weird conglomeration of like the antebellum South, for some reason the 1920s, and like railroads and stuff too, and also a lot of Native American history. I did not appreciate it nearly as much as I should have as a kid though, because I'm thinking back on those trips and they're so cool. I remember distinctly going to the Natural History Museum and they had built like this gigantic teepee hut in the middle of the museum, and my mom was actually a chaperone on this trip, so we went together and it was just so much fun. Honestly, I'm thinking about it now and I'm like, how much do I just miss hanging out with my mom when I was a kid versus going to the actual museum? That being said, the museum actually does still exist in my parents' hometown, so let me know if you guys want me to visit next time I go. The tickets are so cheap too. I was like looking into it recently and it was like $15 for this entire park of like fun activities and stuff, and they've really expanded the kind of stuff that you can do at the museum too, which I think is pretty cool. When I was a kid, there were basically just like old shacks and stuff of different eras of Florida history, but nowadays they turned it into like conservation efforts. I really enjoy going to different kinds of like stores like this because they give me so many ideas too for different kinds of collections that I can start, or even better, different kinds of ways that I can display the stuff that I have. I went to a thrift store that showed all of their different like marbles and stuff in such a beautiful way, and I got really inspired to kind of copy them and do the same thing. So I get so many different decor ideas just from going to the thrift store. It's actually ridiculous because I really never thought that I'd be getting decoration advice from a thrift store, yet here we are. Does anybody collect old bottles and stuff like that? I've never really been a person who collects old bottles or glass in general because I low-key am so clumsy that if I started collecting old glass jars or glass items in general, I would 100% accidentally break something. I remember distinctly being like 14 years old and opening up my fridge. I literally just opened up the fridge and a jar of pickles literally fell and broke and I cut my foot. It was like an utter disaster because there was vinegar everywhere. There were like pickles everywhere. My blood from my broken like foot was everywhere. It was like stinging. It was not a good time. And ever since then, I have avowed myself of all responsibility towards like glass. I think that collecting different kinds of mugs and stuff would be so cute though, because I'm looking back at this video and all of this different glassware is just so beautiful. This blue vase kind of thing is so gorgeous. And if I was a different kind of person, who was more responsible and less clumsy, I would definitely decide to start collecting them. I also think that collecting old bottles is just such a cool thing. Like, I always see my friends having like a bunch of different old bottles displayed, and I think that that is just such a cute, interesting aesthetic for me personally. My mom also really likes to collect old bottles and stuff, and she likes to paint over them and then put them in different places. The bathroom that I had when I was growing up was always full of different kinds of homemade decor like that, and I attribute so much of my own artistic abilities and like creative juices because of my mom. She's literally always picking up some kind of project or something, and she does everything so well too. She loves knitting, picking up different kinds of decor items and reusing them. She loves doing paper mache. Speaking of paper mache, I have also really gotten into paper mache lately, and I have made so many different cool items because of all of the paper mache. And the reason that I got into paper mache is because for some reason, companies have been sending me so many pieces of like junk mail recently, and I hate to just throw them out without doing anything or recycling them because I don't even know if my apartment actually does recycling or not. I have looked in the recycling areas, and I think that the tubes just kind of go to the same place if I'm being honest. So I don't know if they're doing any recycling. So I was like, I might as well just do something with this instead of just throwing it out. So I decided to make a couple of paper mache coasters, and I am proud to say that they came out really, really pretty. I also painted them all by myself because paper mache by itself is kind of ugly. I made it with some glue that I had as well as all of the junk mail, and then I just got this really cheap set of paints from the Dollar Tree actually. The Dollar Tree, by the way, has gotten so expensive lately that I'm like, I don't know who they think they are, but Walmart is sometimes better than going to the Dollar Tree these days. I was kind of continuing through this store. You know, there was so many different items in this store. Like I said, it is an antique store, but it definitely had the vibe of a thrift store, I would have to say. You know, there were so many different kinds of old-timey items, but the way that they were kind of thrown together honestly reminded me of a thrift store, but like a really, really nice thrift store, not like a run-of-the-mill thrift store. The man running the shop was also just so sweet. He was like telling me about all of the different kinds of histories behind the items that they were selling at the store. He also showed me all of his different pins that he got over the years. You know, one of my favorite things to collect, incidentally going back to the beginning of this video, are pins. I really love the way pins look. I think that pins really do pin together an outfit, you know what I mean? Like, a perfect pin is definitely something that is well placed and will make your outfit so cute. I like to collect so many different kinds of pins, and for me, it's just another thing that I really like to pin onto my satchel or my purse, whatever it might be, and just show them. I definitely am one of those people who have a bunch of different stickers and like travel items and stuff on their purse, and I think that aesthetic is just so cute. Travel patches are one of my favorite things, and this store had so many different travel patches that they were selling from all over the world. I don't believe in stolen valor of travel patches though, so I didn't pick any up. So most of the stuff that I have on my own purse are from my own travels or from travels that my family members did when they brought me back different kinds of souvenirs and stuff.